Hey folks, Jimmy here, aka Palette of the Dead. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the latest issue of good old Warhammer 40k Combat Patrol magazine. Now, as per usual with all these videos, if you like them, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and of course, drop me a comment down below. I love hearing back from you guys. It goes a massive way to helping out the channel too. Now, this week we're on issue number 36 of good old Combat Patrol magazine. It is part 2 of our Chaos Space Marine Havocs. So obviously, last week we had those two sprues. And obviously, this week we get this one. So, putting it all together, fairly straightforward. These are your heavy weapon carrying Space Marine, Chaos Space Marines. They're pretty good looking. You don't have to follow that paint scheme if you do not wish to as well. So, you can always keep that in mind if you wanted to go slightly different. However, I must admit, I'm probably going to go with the generic paint scheme because, yeah, I don't really want to be faffing around kind of creating my own paint colour schemes, in all honesty, at the moment. Not for these guys, anyway. Anyway, pretty cool. They all come with 40mm bases as well, so you'll have these with this issue as well. So, yeah, happy times. Going into the issue though, obviously we are greeted by our how to paint sections because obviously last week we had our how to build guide, so obviously get that issue out because now you can build up all your minis. So you're going to want to do that before you can do that. But when you are painting, if you're following this colour scheme, it's very straightforward. So, Abaddon Black, Lead Belcher, Retributor Armour, Wraithbone, Wrathcar Flesh, Null Oil, Agrax Earthshade, Mephiston Red, did I say that already? Corax White, and a couple of other bits and pieces that you'll need for it will give you a really good colour scheme to get you going. The magazine tells you exactly all of that, including your Lead Belcher, because I did forget that one. But yeah, very good stuff when I'm not, hay fever is not killing me. Anyway, very straightforward. If you want to speed up your painting process though, while the warm weather is here, I'm going to say it again, spray paint is your friend. Get yourself a can of Abaddon Black spray paint, or you can go Raven Black or Corvus Black or anything like that. Get yourself one of the paints from Colourforge. You can order them online through like Wayland Games or Element Games or someone like that, and you can save yourself some money. Or you can go to the GW route and spend, quite a lot of money for a can of paint. Spray painting, in all honesty, it will speed things up. Obviously, though, there are some rules with spray painting. One, spray paint in a well-ventilated area, so outside is beneficial. If you need to, you can get spray sticks, so you can get a spray stick from good old GW. It's very straightforward to use. The elastic bands on it we just get, when they get caked in paint, they get brittle, which is the end downside, and you don't get enough of them. So yeah, it's very straightforward. Spray paint is not your enemy, it is your friend. Obviously, if you're not comfortable using spray paint, but you know somebody who is, get them to do it. You want about a 20-degree temperature. Anything too high can make it chalky. If it's too cold or too humid, it'll go very runny and your paint will pool up in crevices and everything like that. And obviously shake the can as much as possible, as hard as possible. Ideally, a lot of them will recommend that you shake the can for a few minutes before utilising it. Generally, I find that around about 30 to 40 seconds of shaking the can. Shake it in between uses as well, and only spray in small blasts as well. So if you spray going across and then back across, it helps you out a little bit. So you just need to spray little tiny bits. You don't need to keep your finger down on the top of the can because you are going to waste a lot of paint if you're doing that. But otherwise, very straightforward. If you spray paint, it will speed things up like all your basing very easily. What you will find sometimes if you're basing by brush, the paint doesn't want to sit on the mini straight away, so you sometimes have to go over several times. If you're spray painting, you generally don't get that kind of problem. Obviously though, you will always have some slight areas that you can't quite get to with brush or good old spray paint. Or sometimes with spray paint, I must admit, I've missed areas before because that's very easy to do. Anyway, enough talk about spray paint. Again, Obviously using your Retributor armor, paint up your trim. Mephiston red for the eyes and the tuft of kind of hair, the plume on the aspiring champion's head and such like that. And you can do any scraps of rags and such like that if you wanted to, or use Barracanard Burgundy if you wanted to as well. Your lead belcher over the weapons and metal areas, obviously using some good old Wraithbone for skulls and teeth and everything like that. And yeah, very, very straightforward. It's a very simple paint scheme, really, when you look at it, but it's quite effective. It does work very well. Obviously, though, if you don't want to go for that paint scheme, you do not have to. You can go down other routes of Chaos, different followers of Chaos. It's just obviously this is meant to be the first kind of crusade, and the first of the Traitor Legions, which is why it is so huge, and you have so many units, and the idea is meant to be numerous. Whereas you can, if you wanted to, you can go down different routes like Tzeentch, Khorne, Nurgle, or good old Slaanesh. Each one have their own paint schemes where they can be utilised with these guys as well, but they will have little adornments that make them look better. So, it is up to you. Have a good think about it. Personally, I'm going to go with this colour scheme just because I'm too lazy to go with any of the others. Anyway, enough about my laziness. We have a new read section. Obviously, this is all to do with the Engines of Damn. So, obviously, Chaos involves demons. So, demon engines are nightmarish amalgams of flesh and metal. They are animated by warp energies and are amongst the most feared weapons in any Chaos Space Marine army. Demon engines are colossal machines of war that are imbued with demonic energy. The creation of these monstrosities is a dark secret of the Chaos Space Marines, known only to the Brotherhood of Warpsmiths. Deep in soul forges in the Immaterium, they use profane rituals to bind screaming demons and force them into the great rune-marked hulls of their infernal machines. So you get a good bit of information about demon engines. Now, demon engines are pretty cool. There are a few varieties of them that you can find within good old Warhammer 40k. You can get them in of Warpsmith if you want to as well, who is essentially like the Servitor and a kind of a weird mix between Chaos Space Marine and good old Admech and such like that. So yeah, pretty cool. And obviously he's going for the Doc Ock look with his different kind of mechanical appendages. So you get a bit of information about the different types of demonic engine that you can get as well. Some of them are pretty cool. So you get Forge Fiends. I kind of like it. It's one of them ones where it's like, yeah, it's all right. The Mauler Fiend is also a form of Forge Fiend, so you can, if from the Forge Fiend kit, if I remember rightly, you can make the Mauler Fiend. I may be wrong on that, I may have completely forgotten and made that up. Sometimes possible, sometimes I forget which one's which. You get the Lords of Discordance, which are, yeah, different. Look like a bit more like a Scorpion and something that you'd seen, say, like, I don't know, some random science fiction films. Venom Crawlers, as you can imagine, they take the form of a huge, giant, scuttling spider, which, you know, I must admit, I'm not a fan of spiders, so I don't think I want one of them guys, but they do look cool. They do look cool. And then you have the coolest unit, personally, is the Helldrake. The Defiler, it's alright, it's not a bad looking unit, it's not my favourite. The Helldrake is, though. The Helldrake's pretty damn cool. Big, massive wings on it. It's essentially like a demonic dragon that is mechanical. Because why not? So, happy days. But that's really cool. It's a really cool unit. Then we're going to move on. We have a read information section for Tzeentch. So, one of the great chaos powers, Tzeentch is known as the Changer of Ways, the Architect of Fate, and the Weaver of Destinies. Tzeentch is the chaos god of change, and he is known by thousands of different names and titles across the galaxy. His followers depict him as an incomprehensible figure, his burning eyes in a sunken face, surrounded by horns, and his skin crawling with mocking faces that repeat his words in chorus. None can truly fathom his plans nor understand his purpose, save that he delights in manipulating the fates and toying with creation to further his arcane designs. I must admit, out of all the Chaos Gods, Tzeentch is my favourite. So, he's a bit cool and a little bit quirky, and his demons are some of the better looking minis, in my opinion. So, talking of his demons, you get the Lords of Change, the huge avian good old servants of Tzeentch. They are pretty damn cool. You see it in good old Space Marine 2, if I remember rightly. Pretty damn cool. And it's a really, really cool looking unit with the bird-like heads. And yeah, one of my favourite Tzeentch units. You get the Screamers of Tzeentch. They're quite funny and quirky, and they are lesser demons. You get pink horrors and blue horrors and brimstone horrors and such like that for them. You have the Heralds of Tzeentch. You have the Flamers of Tzeentch and such like that as well. And you have Vortex Beasts as well. So there are a whole myriad of beasts that can be warped by Tzeentch and changed and manipulated and, yeah, utilised in battle. Pretty cool stuff. I do quite like them. Then we move on, we get a continuation of our story, Bonds of Honour. This is part 9, so obviously picking up where it left off in part 8. We're going to continue with our story. I must admit, I've not read all the way up to even part 3 or 4 yet, because I've not had the time. But, you know, if you like your 40k fiction, at least we gain some, which is pretty damn cool, and it's always good fun to read. So, moving on from there, though, we get more information about our core rules, all to do with data sheets and how to utilise them, so, and all your key points of reference on your data sheets and data cards. So, you are going to want to look out for all of the numbered sections. They are your name, the main stats, weapons, unit composition, and such like that. You're going to need to keep an eye on those because they come in handy when playing. So you'll have your keywords, your abilities, war gear options, and other such like as things as well. They all have characteristics obviously as well, so you are going to want to keep an eye on all of those if you're playing the game. So just helps you out. Then we're going to move on. We have scenario number 23. Big guns never tire. So this is putting our Havocs up against some Termagants and a Winged Tyrannid Prime. So a fairly straightforward one. The Space Marines should do some pretty good damage to good old these guys. You are going to be adding more and more bits in. You can change how some of the things are, but you're always getting up against the Havocs, and you get to have a bit of fun with it, which is always pretty good stuff. So, not too bad. You do have, obviously, certain weapon characteristics for the Havocs. So, for instance, plasma gun, heavy bolter, las cannon, missile launcher, and chain cannon as well, which, obviously, you know, make sure you're keeping an eye on them. And obviously you get to go through and have a bit of fun with it. It's up to you. And obviously it's down to your dice rolls, how you play the game, how it's going to turn out. Good fun. Moving on from there though, next week and the week after, parts 1 and 2 of our Hell Brute. So this is another essentially Demon Engine style mini. It's warped by chaos energies. It's essentially a good old dreadnought, Redemptor dreadnought, that's been very, very heavily corrupted by chaos. You know, with having a hammer for your hand and a cannon for the other hand. Why not? Happy days. So, pretty cool stuff. I do quite like it. And then from then on, we've got a bit more Eldari to come. And then the last little bit of good old Chaos Space Marines as well. So, pretty cool stuff. And then we get to move on to new factions, which will be really cool. Anyway, that is enough from me. Thank you very, very much for watching. And yeah, I'll see you sometime soon. Bye-bye now.